the emails. Is that where they're located in Newark, Ohio?
No,
No.
Newark.
Electronics.
Yeah.
That's where Newark Electronics started, but that's not where they're at anymore.
Oh, really? I had always
MCM,
assumed
they're in
New
South
Jersey.
Carolina.
No,
They now belong.
no, they
to
were actually. There's actually a warehouse up there in
1114
Newark.
or something.
Okay.
It's a little
I'm getting
tiny thing
emails
by
from
comparison to anything
Newark.
else,
It used
but
to be
yeah.
MCM, now we're Newark.
they were bought by
Element 14.
yeah, who owns the parent company that owns Element 14 bought them, and then somehow or another they ended up acquiring MCM, and now they're all down in South Carolina somewhere.
Yeah.
So Mendelssohn's is going to go bye-bye.
Yep.
How
They got
long,
one
how long have they
thing
been
there.
around?
Since about 1948.
Yeah, it was a long time.
We got one thing that I actually want and will go in and offer money on. It's been there for probably 15 years. A manual paper cutter that'll do a stack like this. I mean,
Is that right? Not one of these
How-
little...
How much they want for it?
I think they want $600, and I'm willing to pay $100.
So it'll cut a stack of paper this...
Yeah. And
They're-
this
they're-
wide.
We were in there and they told us a price and I said no, and I gave him a different price and he said
Supposedly
okay.
They have
Yeah.
everything 50% down.
I said
At Mendelssohn's?
actually
So they're
he
selling
gave me a
stuff.
price and I said no, I was thinking
Everything
closer to
was
like $2, and he came back and said what about $250? I said okay.
Yeah.
I've been to a ball game
If
at
you
the
had
Great
said a
Dayton
buck and a half, you
Dragons.
would've gone up to
If
two.
you're sitting
Maybe.
in the park, you can look
Usually.
over and see Mendelssohn's. It's right
They
across the street.
they haggle pretty good.
Yeah. They own that property too.
Where the Dragons are?
They
Yeah,
did
they
it
sold that a while
a
ago.
long time ago.
Yeah, at one
Then there's
point I
a
lived.
brick oven bar. There's a grill, right?
Mendelssohn owned pretty much that whole entire block. That
Yeah.
whole entire city block was owned by Mendelssohn, and he owned almost all the buildings that were on the other side of the block.
Wow,
The
that's
Dayton
a
Dragons
lot
is
of
where
real
his
estate.
parking lot used to be.
Mhm.
That he
1948.
owned.
Well,
They
okay,
got all
that
kinds
wasn't
of
much
stuff
of a
there,
parking
don't
lot.
they?
But
So
they
you went
did
up
own
there
the
because they're
building
selling
there, too.
stuff cheap.
I lived in that building.
You went up there since they're selling stuff cheap.
That's where the parking lot.
You went up there.
That's where the parking lot
So
was.
getting stuff like that is not so
Some
cheap.
would argue that
As
the
they go
parking lot
along.
that he's got isn't much of a parking lot. It's better than what he had.
We get 10%.
It's
better than what he had.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff
That
there.
lot across the
You were
street always
freezing in
was
there?
paved,
But
at least
lot
in
of
my memory.
connectors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
lot of
well,
system,
but
whatever,
okay.
whatever.
Well, it was
We didn't
paved,
see anything.
but
You'd have to spend 2
Uh,
or 3
I-
days
I-
to go
I-
through
I-
everything.
He owned-
because I was looking for
he owned some buildings that were on the other side of that
Touchy.
block. He owned some
And
stuff
I-
on Second Street.
for
He owned a
$100 I
bunch
paid
of crap down there.
$10
Yeah.
for a big one.
I don't know if he
So do you
still
think
owns
you'll
any
go up
of
there
it, but
again, look
he
through
owned
everything?
he owned
Next
it
week
at
I
one
plan
time.
to go again with Leroy.
Sandy
Yes,
was there
It would take
today.
you 2 days to
We
go
didn't
through
talk to him,
everything
but he was
up
there.
Yeah.
He was rolling around on his.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I see less than 25% of the space, right?
Do I?
We didn't.
We
check
saw
it,
probably a third of what we needed to
or
see.
less. We passed.
I heard you could be there for a day or two and not see everything.
You can.
Yeah, but
Well, back in the day,
it's too cold now.
back in the
I
day,
got hungry.
you would need to spend a week up there.
Oh yeah. I was up there once and found a bag of bolts at $1.25 a pound. I'm like,
Interesting.
okay, they were titanium.
Oh, they were.
Yep.
A lot of old
See-
stuff.
see,
All
How much are they worth? How much of that worth the titanium?
Probably about $100.
So
I,
for-
a bag this size weighed 2.5 pounds. I mean that's the clue that
That
this ain't
it's-
steel.
yeah.
But they stuck it on the scale, $4. Okay.
Oh. So I was telling him in the tube room I found an old Navy tube.
Mm-hmm.
Weird sucker. It was a magnetron of some
Yep.
sort. I took it up to the counter and he goes, I can't test that. I said, I don't care. I just want to set it up on my shelf. And he said, $10. And I said, okay. I got it home and it was like $300, $400 worth of.
Metal and stuff.
Well, no, it was.
No.
It's what it is. It was,
Okay. As it is, it's worth $300-$400.
Was it still in the box? New
No.
old stock?
No.
Because
No.
it's surprising what new old stock is worth. If they had any Nixie tubes up there, I'd buy them all.
Yeah. It was not new old stock. It was just interesting looking. It was the only reason why I wanted it was I didn't even know what it was.
So
It had the
like
Navy
they
logo,
have,
the old Navy logo on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it had a date on it and something else. And
Oh, kind of power system.
thought that it might have been a magnetron,
Yeah.
and then I got it home and started looking, and I was like, this is what I think it is, and
It's different models.
it
Yeah.
was worth way more than $10. I wanted it to set it up on the shelf because it was neat, and I said, after I found out what it was and what it was worth, I was like, okay, this is going to eBay.
One of the ones I want,
Yeah,
I had this
they-
ancient old Heathkit ham radio receiver, and the voltage regulator tube was purple. I guess argon, I'm not sure. And I want that tube again, just to make it light up.
Just that too.
Yeah.
We didn't get into the tube room. He didn't even see the tube room.
Oh,
He probably would go crazy in the tube room.
I wonder if Demko's going to go up there and buy some of their
Yeah,
stuff.
Demko.
I don't know.
They're on
The-
Edwards
the
Road.
lay-
I think.
I
They've
wanted,
been around
I wanted to
forever.
go to the second floor, but that's
How long has Debco been around? 50 years?
No, not that. Well, maybe.
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
remember going to
It's been a long
Demko when I was
time.
5 or 6. So yeah.
I remember going there in 1986 when they first moved to Cincinnati. It said it's been here 25 years. Or
Mm-hmm.
have you ever
The,
been to Debco?
no.
They're on Edwards Road, Hyde
The
Park.
lady downstairs, she greeted us and welcomed us and asked if we blah blah
told me
blah.
about this
And then she said
That's a neat place to go.
something. He said something about when do you think you're closing? And she said, well, it's going to be soon, as soon as all the stuff's gone. And I'm like, I'm looking around and I'm going, you mean it's going to be a while, right? And she goes, no, it's going to be soon. It's making it almost sound like maybe there was some deal ruined
Someone's going to
somewhere.
come in with
Yeah.
a truck and just all this stuff taken away.
A couple other things I'd like to get there. They have a pile of glass rod and glass tube, and one of my kids is learning glass blowing. So.
Like they've got everything. Every little thing that you could think of is up there,
Yeah.
All right.
except
How
for
many
the stuff
floors?
that I
Is,
really
how
want.
many floors is it? 5
Yeah.
floors.
It's 5 stories, but there's only product that you can get to on the first and third.
Okay.
The second floor is closed. I don't know what is in there.
No, it was stock.
Nuclear waste.
You
That's
remember
kid.
several years ago, probably late '80s, the second floor was actually open, and you
Mhm.
could actually go in there.
Mhm.
And Dalco was set up in there. They had a computer.
Dalco.
Yeah.
They did computer repair work off of the second floor.
And then
Is
they moved
Dalco up in
downstairs.
Springboro?
After Parts Express left, they moved downstairs.
Yeah.
Dalco's in Springboro, isn't it,
Yeah.
off of Pioneer Drive?
And then, but something happened between Dalco and Mendelssohn, right? Because they were gone. As soon as they were there, they were gone, and Mendelssohn opened up his little computer shop up on the 3rd floor.
Okay.
I don't know
So,
what.
I love Mendelssohn's, but I would never take a computer there to be worked on. You put what in it?
You did what to what?
How old was that? Wait,
That computer sitting there on that shelf is $400. Have you guys ever heard of Micro Center?
yeah.
That computer's worth $70 on a really good day.
Yeah.
They did have some. They had some interesting monitors up there for $40, but interesting, and $40 is still $40. Maybe if they were $10, it might would be really interesting. So what are we doing, Mr. Jim?
I don't know. You're in charge.
I'm in charge?
Yeah, you volunteered for follow.
Oh, jeez.
It was a volunteer. It was an honest. Got witnesses.
Alright.
You will be in charge until the makerspace is done. It's almost ready.
Okay.
We need 1 year more.
So, you heard what we did. Anybody got any other interesting tidbit of happiness going on? Or do we want to play robot?
Robot.
He was walking it in and it was going down the aisle there.
My Sunday's seen it.
So how do you make it go faster?
Reprogram it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've set this. I've set it pretty
I am working
slow.
in a stair for a deck.
Yeah,
Five steps.
yeah.
Those are
I almost frozen.
curious connectors you've got
last
in the
night,
battery. Where'd you get those? Those aren't the.
Mark gave them to me.
Huh.
Yeah.
Tuesday night.
I don't
in
know where you got those.
The lumber in what's the name of this?
Home Depot,
No,
Lowe's.
It's not
Which
the
one?
lowest.
You
No,
say
Home
you're
Depot, the other
connected?
one.
Why aren't you connected?
Ace.
I
Lowe's.
think it went to sleep.
You already said Lowe's, Home
I
Depot.
think it went to sleep.
It's not. Ace. It's.
Restart
It
it.
does need the big
Labor,
red
lumber
stop button.
surplus,
We'll
home
restart
and
it.
decor,
Like
Carter
Seems to
lumber,
be alive. It's blinking.
Menards.
Menards.
Oh yeah.
Well, the wood was frozen. Was night in the night.
Yeah, but I don't
night.
think it was because my app still
Where
says it's connected
under-
even though I just restarted it.
Drink or something. And I picking the wood. It was frozen. Yes.
Wood was frozen.
The wood wasn't like a wet, but like a brick of ice. Everything. Oh,
Menards lumber is frozen.
yeah.
They're out of Wisconsin or Minnesota. I know that.
I need to change all the dimensions because when they say 2 inches thick, it's 1.5 inches.
Yeah.
When they say 12 inches wide,
Yeah.
it's 11 inches.
Yep.
Maybe this is the raw material where they
You subtract what?
the
Half an inch on each face.
Half an inch on each
I
face.
made all the design based in the Polish measurement. I need to change everything else.
So it has no onboard detection.
There's
I
no
designed
nothing.
all the parts.
This
based
was
on
the
dimensions
this
of
was the
of
prototype
workplace.
prototype.
But I now
This
I
was
need
the
to
prototype
change
for the prototype
the height of the steps. You know,
to
Yeah.
what that-
basically
it's-
prove that it can.
But it's pretty heavy. This 12 inches lumber.
And this one is heavy. This one's a heavy one. So that's that. That is the first prototype.
I like the paper
Where are the big
hoppers.
wheels from?
Hoverboard.
Hoverboard.
Yep.
It's a lead acid battery. Seals lead acid.
Hey, Marcus.
There's two 12 volts connected to
Hoverboard wheels.
Ooh.
so.
Hey, don't move. I am taking
Oh.
pictures.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Probably shouldn't move it too much
They
on the
went up
table
metal
anyway.
since today.
Oh, did they really?
They're going out of business.
So the
forever.
battery carrier, is that
That
Mark
building got
Mark
bought.
actually made the frame.
okay?
They're going up again because they only
I did
sold
all
a
the
third of it.
electronics.
I don't like the 24
Wow.
volts
He's a
thing.
engineer.
You think it should be 36?
Yeah, you need
Yeah.
36 to have full control.
So
You lose some torque. but
They only saw a third of what they needed to see. So
How much
I
do
like
you
the
need?
design of this.
you went up there?
Oh,
before?
Um,
yeah.
I've been by it, but I've never been.
this was the
Oh,
prototype
I've been
to the
in years.
prototype.
I stopped collecting junk.
This one's
from
heavy. This,
years ago.
especially with
You
the
see the
battery.
spring?
that
The spring's
battery
made
is-
using a ruler. How do
do?
you call this?
Okay.
Garden ruler or something?
$1.50.
The yellow thing?
Really? Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For it, put it on the scale.
It's not really mounted in there. I let it accidentally fall into a sewer grate, and the battery fell out.
Not now, but when it's up there.
Huh.
The caster wheel fell into the grate,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kind of flipped, and the battery fell out, and I was kind of like, oh crap. But
So which wheel was in the sewer?
the caster, one of the casters.
Hey,
Oh,
run
I don't know. That's why I said I probably really shouldn't drive it on the table.
This is it.
Yeah.
Aluminum ruler. It's flexible.
Yeah.
Basically, it's an ESP32 with a couple of MOSFETs for forward and reverse connected to it at 48 volt voltage regulator down to 5 volt adjustable with a dot of
I had to park
super
on the
glue on
other
it so
side.
that it doesn't self-adjust
On the other
itself.
side.
Mm.
Um,
Always handy.
Someone was
yeah,
parked.
it's putting out a little bit more than 5 volts, but not
That's right.
not enough to
Here's where I
matter.
park it, I park on the other side.
24 volt battery and a couple of BLD motor controllers, a couple of hub wheels. The original prototype, everybody's. Have you seen the video of it outside with the joystick control?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, so everybody's probably seen it with driving around outside with the joystick.
For a little charge.
Little charge. It's a
Little charge.
We are recovering the
Yeah, yeah.
investment.
We're trying to.
Premiere
So-
showing.
So because this one is more or less obsolete because it was just kind of a test platform for basically to make it move more than anything else.
It's got its own driver. It's not in that one axle. It's got its own.
Oh, that's neat. So the brake goes off,
There is on this one there is no brake.
but once you start it, go ahead and move it.
It went to sleep again.
Wake up. That's weird.
Every time my phone goes to sleep, it wants to.
Can you quit the app and restart it?
It's not really an app.
So this
It's my
flexible.
phone. My phone is being.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see.
See, I can't do anything.
I'll run into the gym. Find it that way if it starts. Run over gym.
Run over Jim.
Yeah.
Don't give him any ideas. Bad enough as it is.
Whoa.
Run over
Run
Marcus.
over me.
Yeah.
That's right.
Take Marcus.
So
that plan didn't work.
Yeah.
each hub wheel is independent, obviously,
Yeah, that's what I was checking.
and there is this particular model has a tendency to drift to the left. The other one, the new prototype that nobody's really seen, does not drift so much, and I'm not real sure. I don't know if it's a weight distribution problem or what the deal is
It
with
has
this
to be one of the wheels is a little bigger in diameter.
No, but you cannot assure that with the same PWM signal,
Yeah, okay, that's true.
both controllers do
Looks like
exactly the same
wheels are
speed.
identical.
Is there a trimmer on the
No,
controller? Hmm.
no. It's just this one.
All those ball bearings there.
This one
Yeah.
always has drifted to the left a little bit. It always has.
Okay. Can you trim it in software?
Yeah, but I'm not doing it. I haven't done it. So anyway, originally this was driven by a joystick. Now it's driven by the web. I found a library for the ESP32, ESP8266. Hey, what are you doing? Why do you do that? It's basically called ESP UI, and it's on GitHub, and it's a fairly simple library to use. So, using the the controller without, or the center pad without the OK button, and then the status. So when I hit the button, you'll get a little status message up there that says what it's doing. This is just showing what all the UI can do. So I can pass around the phone, but we probably don't want to drive it too much on the table. But if you look, it says stop, spin. So it's set up its own little access point. The phone's connected directly to it, and then it's 192.168.4.1, and you can. So it's a simple.
How long have you been working on this?
This one really didn't take all that long. This one was pretty easy. This one was less than a week. Really.
Leroy always tends to do
So
that.
it's transmitting ESP-UI?
He doesn't start from what he actually started working on. Leroy starts from like the last version. He doesn't really he actually started working on it for a while. Then what's the version is this?
This is actually the first version.
No! You had wheels? Well, yeah, the first real version that actually does something. But
So if we're talking software, this is the second version of the software.
okay. But even the hardware,
The hardware,
you guys been working on the hardware for
on the
'cause this
new
is,
version,
right.
it's really very, very similar to this. So it's
Is this
not a whole lot of
that one
change.
wheel that you had on your workbench? It's one of those.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when you're prototyping, you learn certain things.
Right, that's what I got.
So instead of having the MOSFETs on this board, I've broken the MOSFETs off onto their own board,
Right.
and I've done some other stuff. But essentially, the hardware is the same. It's just
But actually getting to a point where you actually have, I mean, this is the closest thing to sort of the real world that you've done, right? I mean, that is actually, well, no, you have the other one that you showed.
prototype 2 is probably closer to
Right.
what is actually going to happen.
Is you call this prototype 2 or is it another one?
This is the first prototype.
Okay.
This prototype is obsolete. It served its purpose. Its only purpose was to prove that it could drive, and basically it can drive. So I didn't say prove that it could drive well. I just said prove that it could drive.
So what's so prototype 2, what's the changes to?
So we've added a camera. We've added a Ruka marker detection.
Roku.
Ruka markers. The mark, yeah, okay, so it's follow those lingo bombs.
Ruka.
A Ruku.
Yeah, those, okay.
Artificial
You may
reality,
remember
University of
year ago.
I was here 2 weeks ago when you actually did the little demo and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, with the small one, right?
Yeah.
So everything we learned on the small one got put into version 2. But a year ago, I had made another robot that did some Aruko stuff. So Arukos they're fascinating little things. But so the idea with is either to follow another one that's got a marker on its back, or go through a maze to get wherever it needs to go. Meanwhile, I get to play with this one and make it do whatever I want because.
How long's your batteries last? Have you drained them?
I have not completely drained them. The motors seem to have a problem with anything below about 19 volts.
Okay.
So they will last. I charged it up last night just because it didn't even charge because it never went to red. The charger never went to red. So it's probably really been 3 weeks since I've charged it, and I'd say they would last a good long time. The first week I had them, and I was doing a lot of, does this work? Does this work? I did drain the battery down to 19 volts, a little bit below 19 volts, and that's why I know 19 is the magic number. But
What is the controller designed for? What voltage?
I
It says 24 to 36, or is it 24, or?
Probably 48.
yeah, I think it's said. Do you remember what the voltage for the controller was?
50.
Is it 24 to?
18 to 50 says it
It's
on the
got a
side.
camera on it.
Well, that's probably why 19
Yeah.
didn't really want to work for a while. Actually, 19 would work, but it would only have enough to drive one wheel or the other. It wasn't enough to drive both wheels. What are you doing?
He's showing a.
He's
Alex
showing,
trying to search
he's
for
showing
the
a
Aruba.
secret. He's showing us secrets.
Oh, that's the new version. I didn't know you took a picture of the new version.
So it found that.
I have a video of Thea helping me test the new version.
She's riding it.
Actually, she does write it, but I made it so, well, the small scale. Remember, if you stuck your hand in front of it, it would stop. She kept running back and forth in front of the marker, and it kept stopping and starting. So I said, "Okay, this is a good test. We but
The problem is the robot can't see and move simultaneously. You need to stop.
That's the
Stop
process.
and see. But we will solve that with multitasking, right?
Wow, that's pretty. How long can you do that? Stay in the same
Actually,
spot?
I don't really
Yes,
want it to
Intel
do that.
has, good
That's pretty good.
library for that. You can choose which CPU it has to works in which task, how often you want the task to execute. The problem is to manage the signals between tasks, semaphores or variables to say one task to another, I'm ready, this is the data, use it.
This is the way I would build something. They're using standard parts. This is screws and nuts and screws and bolts that are just off the shelf. I like that.
Mark spent a lot of time cutting and
Smoothing out the edges.
repair.
You
Yeah.
burn it, make sure there's no sharp edges or something.
Yeah, he was worried because
Sanding or no? It's
he was worried because of the 40-year-old. He didn't want her to get hurt.
Yeah.
He didn't care if I got hurt, but he didn't want her to get
Yeah,
hurt.
if you get hurt on, you should know better, but she would know better. If you got hurt, it's your own fault. She doesn't know any better, so you protect the people that don't know any better. That is,
I'd say she knows more.
yeah.
I would argue that I think she knows more about what's going on than
So what kind of metal is that?
I don't have any.
aluminum.
Aluminum.
That's aluminum.
That's
right there.
aluminum, but
Yeah.
what?
The
where
yellow
would you
part
see
is
that?
steel.
This
Is
you,
it?
you can find it in Home Depot in
Yeah.
Lowe's.
Oh, okay.
An inch and a half. You have 2 inches. You have 1 inch of the side of the handle.
Okay, so it's
Almost
standard stuff. I
common.
like
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
And that's aluminum, and then they want their firstborn for the aluminum. Their metal is not cheap.
No,
And
cost
those-
double than steel, but it's lighter.
You know, you could have
Yeah.
used like 2 bolts.
Oh, the
2
steel
nuts.
is not cheap.
And
It's like
it's
an
easy to
adjustment.
work with.
Like
You
instead
can
of having to
use
cut these exact size.
Easy to
almost
cut.
the same tools for wood
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah.
Be careful, you can cut
So-
aluminum.
Part of what you're saying, he wasn't sure because I had the frame and the wheels, and he built the casters afterwards,
Yeah.
and he wasn't real sure how high to make them.
Yeah.
So he built it like that so that he could adjust the height.
Well, yeah, but he used spacers and stuff.
Yeah.
You can use all thread and just.
Well, he installed this in the field, this part, and he
Yeah,
changed,
we
this,
put that together.
adding more or less.
He put it together
Bolts
at his
and
house, and he
spacers.
wasn't even sure if it was going to match up right because I had the chassis. So
This
he
is
did a pretty good
adding-
job.
Adding this and this,
Right.
you can remove anything of those.
Right. Yeah.
He's using those mounting strips. What do you call those?
DIN rail.
Den rail.
DIN rails,
Yeah.
yeah. To mount the electronics so you can snap them.
And I 3D printed the things to attach to
Oh, okay.
most of the things to attach to the.
First.
Oh.
DIN rail mounted stuff.
Do I?
Right now at
Yeah.
Lachlan
I
Surface,
am working
Uh-huh.
on
They've got an
something
eBay
more
thing.
wood
they
style.
have
More. See,
with
I'm
54
doing this with
Opto
a
22
hinge and
Oh.
springs.
Oh, okay.
modules,
Yeah.
red, yellow, and black. So
That's good
AC,
for,
DC,
you know,
and
prototype.
inverter.
So,
If I can
um,
find
Current bid is $20. I'm hoping it doesn't go up because I stop by there on my way here fairly
the
often.
caster wheel is instead of
I don't
a
really.
platform is a single screw.
yeah, that's the simpler.
I don't
Because,
really necessarily need den rail
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Spring
Mark
there,
chose to
yeah.
use
no
den rail,
pressure
so
to keep the wheel
It's
pushing down.
That
it's
Opto
common
22
and
My
good,
battery is the
Opto 22 has
hoverboard
been
battery.
in like from the
It's
60s.
smaller, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
more
Serious.
but
voltage and
it's
more
easy to
voltage
drive
and
with
torque.
practically anything. 5 volts at
Same
8
controllers.
milliamps is enough to turn anything on.
They're still doing it.
Yep. So I'm curious. The lights and the wheels are currently on, but it doesn't
That's still
seem to
working
be
out?
being driven.
correct.
Are those on their own wire or?
So the lights in the
Nice.
wheel,
Yeah,
is an
yeah,
optical
radio
illusion.
saw.
Okay.
they appear to be moving, but they're not.
Well, no, I'm not saying moving. They're lit.
Nice.
And it goes to
He's
the
thinking
manufacturer.
of power
Where are they
consumption.
getting their power?
Well, it goes to
from?
manufacturing.
Magic.
I just bought
Okay.
I honestly don't know.
a box bender for metal sheet and
We assumed that they
shear
were inductively driven.
They're not.
parts,
Really?
metal parts and bending.
Okay.
I mean, you can see it because they're on right now, so
Spend
it
some
can't
time
be.
It looks like they're
Tables
mounted
and
on, the thing turns, it's mounted on the center part.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not turning.
They're not
Yeah,
turning.
no, I know they don't turn.
Yeah.
They can't be inductively
They,
driven.
they
Why not?
consume electricity.
They have a picture of the benders on board.
Well, if they're electric, then eventually they would go out, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
I
That's
don't.
why I'm
I don't
curious,
think
is
they.
there-
I don't think they do as long as
Yeah.
there's power going down to the wheels.
Because I had assumed inductive because you're always driving the wheels with AC, and they do seem to get brighter the faster
they
you're going.
do.
And I didn't, unless they're there shorting out back EMF or something, doesn't make much sense. That too is inductively coupled, just not the right way.
I send the picture.
Well, I don't know. We could sit here and wait. I have seen them out. I know they go out, but I don't think
And
they're
they're much
inductively-
dimmer now than they had been when you were driving it.
I always have this kind of
Yeah.
saw.
But
For first time,
somebody
I
had
got
thought
the
that they were
left-hander
moving, and they're not
thing,
moving.
No.
I took them. I put it up on the workbench,
uncomfortable.
Are you
up on
left-handed?
that stand thing that
in
they
the
made,
plane of my body.
and I took
Yeah.
a video of it, and you can see
Because I
that
am
they don't
left-handed.
move. They
Yeah.
Now
just.
it's
the-
perfect work.
It's an optical
They're-
illusion.
They're tied to the
Yeah,
stator
that's true.
inside.
It's an optical illusion that they.
Yeah.
It's because the pattern on the
Yeah.
wheel on the hubcap.
They change color too, don't they?
No,
I thought they did. Okay.
no, it's a complete 100% illusion that they're doing any of that. It,
Hmm.
small, like a press, that you can remove.
So there's three different colors in there.
Small sections,
But
like boxes.
Right.
if maybe there's only two different colors, but if you look, the green is always in the
Yeah.
green spot.
I'm making the
Blue is always in the blue spot. It
There's red in there somewhere too, isn't there?
I thought there was. I thought there were three different colors.
Don't touch that, what I'm doing.
And when you move it, they light up. They get
but
brighter.
you see, they never really.
Right.
So it's
But
three
they-
different colors.
But they do increase brightness when you move it, which is why I was thinking they were inductively coupled.
The position.
They could be.
Because when I had
do
this
by
thing at
hand,
home,
it's perfect.
with it
90
turned off,
90
if you crank the wheel around, they lit up.
But
Really?
when I
Mhm.
activate the controller,
You run it.
it gets crazy. Increased by 10 the number of pulses.
So I was figuring that
That's
Yeah.
weird, isn't it? That is weird,
Because
isn't
the,
it?
the settings.
I was figuring that the motor controller always has some noise going to it.
To my controller
Well, I thought
to use interruption.
I might just be
count
backfed.
the number of times.
Yeah.
But maybe there's some kind of noise.
Interference or
I
something,
don't
right?
see the noise in the
Yeah,
oscilloscope.
yeah, okay.
The
yeah.
signal is
But-
perfect, but
Wow.
jump
I think
10
it's a
times
great
faster
little.
and just work in one
Is it,
direction.
is it
I call
random
that-
or is it consistent?
As compared to the other
Forward,
prototype, which
10
is
times faster.
tall and skinny.
and
This
just
is
in one
short and
direction.
fat.
Doesn't
I
matter
call
what
this
direction
fat
you
boy.
control.
This one's fat boy, and
The same
the other one's
direction.
tall and
That's not
skinny.
noise.
Can I see what it
then,
weighs?
It's not noise.
Yeah,
It's-
yes,
it
I
can't be-
don't know what
yeah,
it's
gotta be-
consistent.
Yeah, it's
It
gotta
weighs
be
less with the
consistent.
battery
Can't
out
be-
of it. It's the battery that.
How much does the battery weigh?
It's about 35 pounds,
Mm,
maybe 40.
it's probably. Yeah, I would guess pretty close to 40.
Those wheels, my wheels were extremely heavy.
These aren't.
Surprisingly heavy.
The, these aren't.
But yours has aluminum here. They use
Yeah.
plastic in the center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these wheels are pretty light. It's all the battery. It's actually not so bad to carry around without that battery in it, but the battery's
But
kind of a
I
pain
bought
in the-
your wheels. I like them much than this. Jeez. Looks
I like
sturdy.
cheap and work. If they cheap and they work, that's good.
So what's the width outside to outside?
I believe that one is 21 inches. The other one, the short, the skinny tall one,
Mm-hmm.
is 18 inches. But
I using them in my.
it's also
Assembly.
Oh, okay.
probably that
Yeah.
much taller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they look nice.
It's just a round table.
Yeah, I know.
Round.
Are they? Do you have a picture of both of them next to each other? Oh,
Or what?
of this one next to its.
I don't know.
I don't know if you took.
Actually,
a
I
picture.
don't find the pictures I took yesterday.
Oh no.
I don't know where they are. They are not in the normal sequence. You know, I have Mendelssohn.
How much are those motor drives? Those when they're BLDs?
Brushless DC. They're DC motors. Brushless BLDC. Stands for brushless DC.
How much are they?
So you have to feed them AC to make them go.
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
I don't know.
You guys haven't bought them either. I think
They're not cheap.
Vicente got it. Really?
Yeah,
Vicente got it
35
also.
bucks or so.
Vicente
That's
got one set
what
too.
I'm guessing.
So pretty, you guys got a lot of floating around.
This is Mendelssohn.
Yeah, 30
Oh,
bucks.
Mendelssohn? Yeah, that's not too bad.
30 bucks, 40 bucks.
We were today there in Dayton.
They saw about a third of what they got.
How many floors they got now? How many floors?
Third floor.
Oh, this is all just the third floor.
Second floor is closed off. You can get on it.
I haven't been up there in ages.
I tried to get the elevator operator to take us to the second floor.
He looks
No,
That one of
no way.
those old elevator. That's actually a gym itself, the elevator.
that's why we had to ride the elevator, because you have to experience the elevator in Mendelssohn's.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do anything else. You have to experience the elevator.
Is it a big freight?
The old, yeah. Yeah, I got
It's an old operator.
Right.
It's a cargo elevator back from 1,000 years ago,
Oh, yeah.
and it's It's not as rickety as you would think it would be, but
Oh, no. That thing's probably rated for 20 tons.
yeah.
If you only got 4 people in there, it's fine.
Just going, taking a nap.
Yeah.
You get different experiences. Different operators operate it differently.
Yeah. And nobody really stops at level with the floor. That's what's
Actually, the lady that was doing it today,
Mm-hmm.
for the third floor, she stopped at level each and every time.
Oh,
But for
really?
the first floor, it was always
Yeah.
a foot up.
There's Leroy.
But nobody ever really operates it the same way.
Yeah.
No.
And you don't really operate it the same way twice.
There's a elevator just like that down at Western Southern Light, and I did some installs there, and we staged equipment on the
I bet.
7th floor of a building that's basically empty,
Yeah.
and there's no operator there. It's like, I think if you pull the thing forward, it goes up, but just find it out. Okay.
I went to an auction in Hamilton several years ago, and it was an old warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Their cargo elevator was a little bit smaller than that one, and a whole lot more rickety
Yeah.
than that one. And
There's your beautiful
no
dog.
operator.
Yeah, it's
There were
true.
little signs up that said, "Use this at your own
No.
risk.
See what, 3 years
Push
old?
forward to go up, pull back to go
You want
down."
another dog?
But it didn't tell you how to do it.
No.
You know, there's a
Yeah,
dinner
mine.
lockers
Mhm.
on it.
My wife would kill me.
So, several
I always
people
do
were
that
sitting
to
there
her. So
going,
when kids came to the door,
I went,
doing the Halloween.
bet you pull that thing and you
Sure,
push
you
at
want
the
a
same
dog?
time.
He's like 8 years old now.
You wouldn't believe how many people overshot where they wanted to go.
Yeah, it's
Somewhere,
Yeah.
somewhere around there.
The
My
one at
grandnephew,
Western
his
Southern
name's Noah.
was, it had a 2-speed motor.
So she's a
It
dog
wasn't
person, you're not.
linear. It was like, you're going kind of slow, you're not going slow at all.
I don't know what it is. I just wanted the
You
company
can
when I
go
was
slower
there.
with this
Yeah.
prototype with the no.
She's not just like a real.
No,
kind of, you know,
they
the
both,
real
at
dog, you
least
know,
at the
like
house,
it's,
they
you know,
both
you run
act
into that-
pretty much the
that,
same.
You know, they're like
But-
I lady used to work
People.
to. Yeah,
This one
exactly.
seems to be
But this is
moving
a
really
little-
slow.
A little
That's
slower
like
because
George,
the wheels are more separated by the speed.
You know, her house
Maybe.
was passed on and I think, oh.
This one seems like it goes really slow.
She talks
The other
like
one
it's-
seems like it
it's
goes
like
pretty
her-
fast, and it's the same
The
code.
difference in the distance between.
Thought about buying, I had to put him down in 2016.
I
thinking about getting another
think that one of the wheels is up off the
Living in an
ground a little
apartment,
bit
if
more
they're
than
too
the other one.
happy, you know, you
Just
can
just
break it all.
enough, just
Yeah,
a
no,
hair.
it's great, dog. It really
Shouldn't
is.
matter.
It's just a pain. You have to go to the funeral and-
Maybe these have more poles.
He's at the house.
That would make it
Right,
go
your
slower.
daughter to come check
Yeah,
on
check
him
on him,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Should be the same wheels.
And then most of them, we
Came
take
off the
them
same-
way over to
Oh,
Anderson,
okay.
my brother lived
Really?
there.
Came off the
Yeah,
same
if you want
kind of
to go
hoverboard.
Yeah, it's just a pain. It's just a real pain. I mean,
So
you can't
7-inch
be away from
ish.
home too long.
Yeah.
I thought,
It's like-
okay, I thought one set was bigger than,
No, I think that set that's on the other prototype is 6.5, 7-inch.
Cats
Right?
are easier than dogs, but I like
I
dogs.
think it's the
Yeah,
same size
I
wheel.
think
I'll
that's-
I'll look when I
they
get
don't
home,
do
but I
that
think
tell
it's the
them.
same size wheel.
They're on their own schedule.
Yeah.
They will if you can read their mind and.
Yeah, do what,
and-
yeah, that's right, exactly. But you read their mind, then you do what they
I
think.
don't
My
See
brother
how
had a
how the
cat,
casters
it-
kind of push it up a little
Well,
bit.
now
They're
they
not
come in and
exactly.
they shut the
I
door
think
and
one of
get
the-
out in the snow, and then
I think
next
it's
time
just
open
a
the door
little
up, it shoots
Shoots
back
in.
in.
not right.
Right.
Maybe I'll come in, maybe I won't.
Yeah,
Shut
It,
the door.
it's good enough. It works.
No,
It does
I
what
think
it's
that's-
supposed.
that's
It
pretty
proved what it
crazy.
was supposed to prove.
years ago I had I don't know, probably some Kenner toy. I had relatives that worked at Kenner. And it was, I don't even remember what the thing was. It was this fairly long body with 4 spoked, not wheels, legs on it. And it was really cool because there was a magnetic coupling between the two so that both sides turned together unless you actively made it not. And it'd be cool if you could do something like that with this. I mean, electrically, you should be able to tie the two together. I would think if you can force the same frequency,
How would
it's
you,
gonna go straight.
okay, but how would you turn then? Because you
No,
need
but
it to
you
turn.
don't have
Well,
access to the frequency.
Yeah, then you override it
You
to
break
turn.
it, yeah, that's how you, I see what
You
you're
break-
saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow.
So I guess your thought is that if you can couple them together, you're guaranteed to go straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if
The same
yeah,
wheels are the same
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
Can you do some sort of servo loop and read one of the?
So
The Hall effects?
so he's been working on reading the Hall effects.
I have to leave
And-
it early time.
That would almost guarantee if it actually worked, but I'll let him talk about.
No, but now it's too noisy. When you turn by hand,
Mm-hmm.
it's perfect, both directions, 90 steps per revolution.
Mm-hmm.
When I activate the controller and try to move it, it go 10 times faster, like some kind of noise is in the Hall effect sensor or something.
Hmm.
In the scope, in the oscilloscope, you see the signals perfect, the same, but for some reason the interruptions are increasing 10 times faster. There are no 10 times change,
But you're not seeing noise on the
no noise.
output.
Yeah, that's the strange thing.
But yeah, the fact that it's consistent, means doesn't sound like it's noise because it's consistently the same signature.
Yeah, it's
So
it's like a 10 times faster. You see them.
oh,
One
Running
turn,
at
one,
10
one,
that
one
speed?
turn, one turn 900 instead of
really.
90. 90 pulses instead of 90 pulses, 900 pulses per revolution.
Wow.
And just one direction. Doesn't detect the opposite direction.
Oh, nice.
It supposes that it's the same direction all the time.
So you get 3 Hall effect sensors in there, right? Actually 4, I think.
3.
I thought there was one for each phase and then one more lead.
No, there are 3. There's a distribution of the 3 that producing 6 combinations of
Mm-hmm.
digital combinations. And that's it. You move from one value to the other, changing
Mm-hmm.
one direction or in another 6 values.
So what
Fine.
what is the last lead for?
The last,
Yeah, there's
The white wire.
yeah.
The white wire is probably
I-
most likely a temperature
I
sensor.
never use it. I don't know.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
that
only
makes
have
sense.
it, but I don't know.
Nobody knows, and there's no data sheet that says what it is for sure. But it's probably most likely a temperature sensor.
Hmm. Put a scope on it.
Yeah, eventually one day.
Or it's a conversation connection.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What was he talking
I've said that we
Oh,
need
the white-
to scope
white
it and
paper.
see what it's
okay,
doing, but
yeah.
nobody wants to do it so far because it doesn't matter. It's
I'll
not
bring my
making
scope in next week.
it's not making any real difference.
No one's talk about that in the web, right? The white
No,
paper.
you've got two school of thoughts about
I have several
what it
wheels and
is.
some have the white paper.
Yeah, some
doesn't.
people think that it's another an
Hall effect.
encoder
Mm-hmm.
of some type, and some people say that it's a temperature sensor. I think I would lean
Well,
towards
it's
the
a matter of
temperature
checking
sensor.
the scope or something. but
Yeah, yeah.
It's
the way
it's
that
not
you
on the
taking
same.
combination of the 3
Even
signals
even when you look
and
at the
produce
board
just
that
pulses.
that you unplug it from,
Yeah.
Estimate
it's
speed.
not on this. It's not in the same area that
Yeah,
the
I'll be
Hall
interested
effects
to
are
find out
at.
what you find out on that.
So I would lean towards.
It's almost certainly
10
an
times,
output
that's just weird.
from the
That is
wheel.
Yeah,
absolutely
I
weird.
would lean towards a
And
temperature
I
sensor.
break down all the
Huh.
interrupt routines.
The real question is
I make
which
them
one?
Like
I mean, there's so many
2
different
instructions each. and
temperature.
I've
still-
got that
still
little
I don't
component
know what's
tester
going on.
thing. You hook it up
You'll
and
figure it
it'll
out.
tell you if it's
I
a
have
DS1287 or
confidence.
whatever.
Next week you'll have done.
We
If
might-
it's
When-
a
when-
variable
when something
voltage,
is
it'll
so
show up
weird,
there.
I try to
If it's a
put
thermistor,
apart
it'll
and
be
work on
variable
other stuff on
resistance.
Yeah.
Oh, you're done.
something
something clicks.
Yeah, you get
I
Thing
am
is-
planning to put capacitors in my circuit.
We're
to
not,
make the
we're,
cables
we're
close,
moving it slow.
shorter.
We're
Yeah.
not really
And a lot
expecting
of
it to get
things,
hot,
maybe
but
one night, today or tomorrow.
eventually,
maybe I-
sooner or
Yeah,
later,
though,
it'd be
right?
nice to know what it actually is,
So
You have an
maybe.
oscilloscope?
Huh?
You have an oscilloscope?
But I told,
Several.
Yeah, yeah.
my thoughts are
So you
is
can look at the
if he
signals.
actually
Yeah, I
wants
have
to
the
build
signals
these
installed.
out,
Yeah.
like
I put
he
signals in
wants,
the scope,
Mhm.
4
he's going to
channels.
go to China and
And
source
you
all
see
the
the
parts
signals
and buy
perfect
thousands of
size
these, and they're going to
and
tell him what that
shape.
white
Yeah.
wire is.
Are they square waves?
Square,
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They know.
And then they change? in-
Somebody knows, it's
You
connected
see them
somewhere,
change.
somebody knows what that white wire
Well,
does,
they are square for the frequency.
because
We're
it,
talking
my
about,
guess
uh,
is
90
for
volts.
the
Right. yeah.
product, the end product
second.
that he wants,
Yeah.
he
This is low
would
motion.
have a
Maybe
different cover
we
over
increase
the
a lot
LEDs
the
anyway.
precision.
Nobody
Maybe
will
there is
even
a
know
lot
that
of
there's
noise
LEDs in it.
precision.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I'd
don't
let
see
it,
but
I'd still
maybe I
let it
need
light
to
up.
tag through
I
it
would,
and
that's just
expand
me,
and see
but
what's going on. Maybe noise.
the
I'm
product that he
taking the
wants, I
signal
don't
from
seriously
the
doubt that he really wants
input of the
LEDs
controller.
in the wheels.
Huh.
But
Yeah, that's,
That's okay.
I told him, I
Yeah,
said,
I mean,
I
that-
bet
Maybe it's a matter of putting several.
there's one manufacturer that
capacitors.
makes these, and
Yeah.
all the hoverboard, all the cheap Chinese hoverboards
Yeah.
use the same damn wheels.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that-
Somebody
that-
knows
that
what the hell
assumes-
these
that
are.
assumes noise though, and it just doesn't seem like.
So-
Looks like noise. Looks like.
Yeah. Logic analyzer.
I am using a STM32, the blue pill thing, you know. It's a microcontroller that runs at 72 megahertz. It's fast. It's an R. And you have interruption for each transition of each pin. But the code is very small.
So the Hall
It's
effect,
like a counter.
Oh, look,
they have
there's Mark.
magnets, is it a separate circuit in there?
We've said
Yeah.
his name too many times.
He said, they have magnets in there and Hall effect sensors, right?
Yes, but actually the wheel has 30 magnets
Alright.
around.
Okay,
Very
is that
sensitive.
those magnets used to drive it?
Yeah, and those magnets are the
Alright,
ones, the field, the static field that is used by the coils to produce different combinations, like a stepper motor. You know, there is a permanent magnet and a
Permanent
magnetic-
magnets are on the outside and coils are
Yeah.
on the inside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay,
And the Hall effect sensors
are on the
Are-
inside.
are installed.
Well, they have to be mounted on the stator, but they sense the magnets going by.
Yes, they move over the magnets,
Mhm.
but they are displaced in a way that only one change at a time
Mhm.
and produce these 6 codes that are consecutive, 6 values, binary values of three digits.
So if you're driving the coils, that's going to induce a
But
field.
But the coils is another. Yeah.
You could be inducing a field at the,
Supposedly the controller used those signals to drive the coils. Means that the signals must be okay. But maybe the controller just read the signals, apply voltage, and it doesn't matter the signals after that until read the next time. Maybe during this time it's noisy.
you're getting noise from the drive circuit into the Hall effects.
Yeah, but I don't see it. I need to see in the scope to correct the problem.
And you're not seeing,
Maybe it's a matter of high frequency. I'm working with 90 pulse per second. In the scope, you see almost. You can see then if you span a lot a signal change. Maybe there is a bunch of noise in the change, but
It look
in
like-
a normal speed you don't see it. Maybe I need some filters, you know, a resistor and a capacitor before go into
for a
my
particular
my
frequency
controller.
or something?
Yes, to clean the.
Now, the drive circuit itself, are you varying the frequency or the duty cycle?
No, maybe
Or
maybe
speed.
introduce noise in the change of the signal, but but you don't see at low frequency. You just see an edge, but maybe the edge is actually a bunch of noise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And microcontroller is so fast that catch all of those changes and convert in pulses. Then it's a matter of use this signal with a resistor in this area and a capacitor close to the microcontroller just to smooth the change. I don't know if there is a limitation in the capture of change by the microcontroller, if it needs a fast slope or it's a matter of a level to declare a change. Because if it needs a fast transition, will be a trouble to remove the noise. Maybe I can just create a delay after the first detection. I just become blind for several microseconds, the width of the noise thing, and then continue working. There are several techniques. I need to try that.
Mhm.
Let's see.
So probably does
Maybe,
both. The frequency controls the RPM, and the PWM would control the torque that it can apply.
Well,
Well, you're probably, the torque that you apply is, okay, you're measuring the frequency separate. You're measuring the encoder or the
Mhm.
pulse width,
the
the Hall effects
Hall effect sensor.
is separate from what you're applying to it. What you're applying to it, you're going to vary the, well, the frequency is going to be
But-
fixed.
So if you apply DC to it, you can turn it in steps.
Well, remember that all the cables are together. I mean, the Hall effect sensors with the signals are parallel to all the high current lines that go
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
in the axis.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a bunch of noise in this transition. I am not seeing it because I didn't play with that a little bit, but maybe a problem of noise.
I'm trying to figure out what Steve was talking about. To set the speed, you would
You change the frequency
Frequency.
that you're, yeah,
period,
Yeah.
and then you'd need to adjust the current if you start to slip.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know that this does any PWM, but it might to present a sine wave so it doesn't cog.
But in
as
some way,
bad.
they control also the size of the pulse, because when I move in a very low speed
Mhm.
and I put my hand trying to stop it,
Mhm.
it increases the torque a lot to maintain the speed, use more current, but it's the same frequency, you know?
Yeah,
It means that it is widening the pulses to control the motor,
And
increasing the energy.
with that sort of motor too, you have to adjust the amount of current that you apply on the motor as the frequency changes.
Yeah, but I mean,
You
the
have to.
the frequency is a square wave, okay,
Yeah.
a big, but the energy inside this wave may be a high frequency switching to produce some kind of PWM to change the apparent energy of the pulse. I mean, the pulse will be all the time up, all the time down, or half time up, half time down. You change the energy, just modulating in very high frequency the pulse. The low frequency pulse, that is the one that moves the wheel. And this high frequency is the one that may be affecting the Hall effect sensors by induction in the transitions.
Yeah.
yeah, it may be that it wasn't intended to be driven with PWM. If you're moving a person around and you're always going at a reasonably fast speed, you don't need to create a sine wave or a sine wave effect to make it smoother. And the
But
controller may
this
be doing
effect
that.
implies very high frequency switching
Right.
to create this smooth. Instead of square pulse, it's some kind of
Right.
sine wave
But
control.
But on the scooter, it didn't have this $35 driver. You might have just had
And
transistors.
they use the same technique, I think.
You sure?
Yeah, it's very sophisticated driving.
Okay.
It's the same drivers, it's the same transistors, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And these softwares, they do that. I think it's very smooth, very well done in this way.
Okay.
Because I read an article about some guys in Germany that made reverse engineering of these boards,
Mhm.
and they are really well done in terms of driving, and they have plenty of capacity with the microcontroller that use the hoverboards to do that, to control the shape of the energy.
Okay.
And when you are on a hoverboard, it's a really smooth feeling, the control,
Sure,
you
but-
don't never feel this vibration or not. It's like a smooth thing.
But what's the slowest that it goes when you've got a person on it?
But
It didn't go slow when I would
you
stood
can't
Yeah.
move it,
It
couple
took
of
off.
steps just, and it's smooth.
Really? Okay.
It's smooth all the time.
I don't know.
They are doing something more than switching.
When
on
I got
off.
on it, it just kicked my ass and ran away.
That's pretty much when I got on it. It
No, I
kicked my
played with
ass and
that.
ran off.
My daughter broke the arm the first time he tried,
Mm-hmm.
and then used plaster Paris, and she continued playing with it all the December to December 2nd.
The hoverboards have a gyroscope in them, so they got that, so they can
Yeah.
try to correct.
Yeah, but to close the loop, you need a fine control.
Oh, I'm
You
I'm
need
not
to change-
disagreeing with that.
You need to change the energy of the pulse.
Yeah,
I need to find a good article on that.
those
what
those,
exactly
those
is going on.
hoverboards. I climbed on that thing. I'm done.
Actually, I can look at the.
It was a
control
part. It was a
pulses.
part. 5 minutes later, it was disassembled. I was done.
$89, Black Friday.
I don't need one of those. I gave it back. I gave the parts back to Mark because Thea saw it sitting there, and without any kind of controller in it at all. I mean, it's just freewheeling,
Mm-hmm.
and she wanted to climb up on it, and she was going to hurt herself pretty bad.
You need to get her a
And
unicycle.
the fact that the wheel is
She's got a little
maybe
scooter.
The controller
Um,
is using an exact.
She could
Frequency.
drive, the
To
carts
drive.
at Kroger's.
Mm-hmm.
Is maybe the
She can
cause
drive
of
those.
The consistency, because the transition.
And
must
for the
be-
most part, she doesn't hit
the amount
anything.
of pulses
Um,
are always the same.
the little
I need to check that.
the little scooters,
Maybe
the
it's trying to actually stop.
little power chair scooter things.
Maybe
I've
it's
got one of
actually
those. She
holding
drove
it.
it around the house before the battery
Like when you
finally
turn it
killed
back,
itself.
it's like
Drove it all around.
That's weird. I'm
So
that'd be interesting to figure out.
she's actually pretty good for 4 years old. She's pretty good.
Sure, it must be the transitions.
Growing up, we had an old Easy
There is
Go
a hidden-
Yeah, you
electric
got to like put it on
golf
the bench,
cart
separate it
with
from
No, I just need to
big 6-volt
fire
batteries
the-
and this tray
kind
of
of
solenoids.
stove.
It was a
Just
horrible thing.
once they
And
expand
And grab it, yeah.
check how
we
many
we
pulses are.
had that thing for years. I don't
Transition.
remember it ever not being there. And
Yeah.
we
Maybe
ended
10
up putting a
pulses.
6-horse engine on it with 2 alternators to keep it charged. But
I was
yeah,
actually so
I
bad
was
for
driving
music.
that thing
Yeah,
when I
make
was
sure you
5.
might want to ground that chassis.
Feeding
Yeah.
chickens.
Ground everything you can ground just for hell of it.
She,
Just to see.
I thought that,
Just
but I
to
have
see.
everything is.
She got a bicycle when she was 3,
Yeah,
a
I'm just
little,
wondering
a
if it's on
bike.
metal chassis like that,
And now-
they can
No,
actually-
I
yours
have
is not.
She was 3 when she
Oh,
was
you got
driving the
different-
scooter
you got
around, and she
separated.
said,
Yeah, okay,
"I
that's
don't
good.
want the
That's
bike.
good.
I want the
Just
scooter.
my
I want the
bench,
scooter."
thing.
Okay, you have.
Yeah,
to-
why use your legs? Why do stuff
Yeah.
when you can just have the thing do it?
Maybe I need to make.
She
a
kept
more
calling the-
luminous ground.
She was 3. She kept calling the scooter a robot. That was her robot.
Mhm.
The
She would,
controller is using
That
a
works.
power pack
Mhm.
USB.
I said,
have all the grounds connected,
it's
but
not really a robot,
maybe
Thea.
there is current flowing some
Right, right.
direction and changing
Yeah,
the
yeah.
real
I'm sure that's,
threshold.
it just have to, doesn't sound like it's gonna be too difficult of an issue, because it seems the watch going, it seems like it's repeatable. It's not an intermittent thing, like, that's the hard thing to find, it's just like, it happens once every,
I have a ton of experiences about that. all the
I
time.
know, that's no
What's
practice.
going on?
I know, it shows up every now and then, it's like, oh my God. Yeah, you can't repeat.
I call it when 1 + 1 is not 2, I get crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, let me check. This
If
is-
1 + 1, if 1 + 1 is not 2 consistently,
Yeah.
you at least
What's going on?
that's actually not a. I like those issues. Usually you can find out what that is, but if it's 1 + 1 equals 3, sometimes
Maybe it's not 1 or it's not plus or something is wrong, but I don't know what.
Thea came up with new math for me.
Oh, then you okay?
She, I asked her one day, 2 + 2, and she goes, "That's 2, Papple." No, 2 + 2. Oh, you mean 4? Yes, I mean 4. And then she went through this whole thing, and she goes, "I'm confused. What's 5 + 5?" And I said, "Well, what is 5 + 5?" She goes, 5, 5. That must be, I don't know. What is that? I go, "Well, you've got 5. Count this one." She goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I said, "Okay, now
going.
keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she just sat there and looked at it, and she's like, "I think that's 10, Papple, but I keep counting to 5.
You want to see the first hub motor?
I said, "Oh yeah, I've seen that."
Have you seen that? Okay.
I said, "You're right, it's 10. She goes, 5, 5. That's not right, Papple. I got 5 and I got 5. Okay, whatever. But she had it, but she didn't.
Right,
She
that's
didn't
right. Yeah,
understand that she had it.
Yeah, she did it. She did it in her head. She skipped short her work. That's right. It was like, show your work. No, it's just. I know what it is. It's in my head.
It's 10, but I think it's 10, Papple. But I only got 5 on both."
Mark, people here has a question about what is this white cable for?
I know all about that that wire. I'm the white wire expert.
It's an conversation wire.
I've got many
That's
people.
conversation.
Many people
That's right.
are working on it. I've got a couple guys working on it. They've been working on it for
You have
3
a
months.
team, you have a team on that.
It's a team
You have a
effort.
team on that, okay.
Yeah, it's only taken them 3 months so far,
Okay, yeah.
and they're
And we're no further along than
They're
we
losing
were.
sleep
We'll be
over it.
fast.
They're losing sleep over it.
I will tell you right now, I am not going to ever lose sleep over what that white wire is.
Well, it may be the answer to all our problems.
That's hard to get, really.
It's a floating ground.
That's
there
right,
to-
exactly. When you plug it in, those 10, that 10 time thing goes away.
Yep.
So you just got to
Right.
figure out what that wire is.
We were taking
it's
orders.
either a
of
temperature-
this for you.
Oh, the order is great. What price are
We
people
have,
willing to pay?
two
$5?
for Marcus wants 2 of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's his offer?
He wants this in all red color better than yellow. But it's
He wants red.
same
Okay.
price.
That's right. I'll give one to my aunt, one to my mother-in-law. They're both 84.
Now, do you want the
Okay.
app on the phone or do you want the joystick? Because you know the joystick's going to cost you extra.
We want both. All the above.
Of course you do.
That's right.
Well, there is a later model. Leroy brought in the old model here.
I brought that in because of the
No, I know.
because of the
I know.
interface.
I know. Yeah.
And because
No,
it's more or less an obsolete model.
Maybe we can attach a pole with a camera to make a telepresence robot.
Yeah,
You know,
I already thought about
use
that
the
too.
web to go visiting.
Did I put that in my email about the telepresence from iRobot for hospitals?
When?
Well, it would have been today, but
I don't know. I didn't read your email.
I saw something, but
you didn't read my email.
Not today.
You didn't
Not
stop?
from today.
You didn't pull over on the highway and read it?
Today was
we were
Mendelssohn's day.
busy.
Okay. Okay.
It's hard to concentrate on anything else with your
Let's see if I ever
medicines.
sent it to you guys. But yeah, iRobot got approval from the FDA in 2013 for use of this thing in the hospital. And their concept was, they call it remote presence. So the model number was RP, but it's telepresence. And then the idea was that, or is that they could drive it around. That somebody at the nursing station could drive it around. And then they made one, and I think it got approval, that a doctor could see, had a split screen. One was a map of the hospital floor plan, and one was, you know, what was being, yeah, the actual
view of the room.
yeah, the camera view, and then the doctor could, you know, click on a room number or place in the hallway, and then it would go there. It would drive there, and then it could still, in front of the patient, they could use it like Skype. You know, so the doctor wouldn't have to roam the halls. He could, and then
Get around all those sick people.
yeah, and there's also they were working with a company that still exists that's called InTouch Health. And InTouch Health is still active, and they're progressing. There are laws being passed for virtual doctor, you know, where you have a camera like Skype and the doctor. So InTouch Health, and then at some point, iRobot sold off their government business, you know, to a company in, I think, Northern Virginia, you know, and then, but somehow they sold off their telepresence for hospitals business too, and that's called Ava Robotics, and they're in Cambridge, Mass. So,
wonder if that,
so that's kind of interesting. That so Ava Robotics is still, they got a $3 million funding round that they concluded this year. So they're not that big. I mean, they're not like billions, but they have, and they're still apparently looking at telepresence. You know, their emphasis for hospitals. I'm not trying to put these into hospitals, and not even really nursing homes. I was thinking more about, not this so much as the next model, about assisted living. So it's not as regulated, I mean, I don't think, as hospitals or even nursing homes. So we'll see if anything happens on that, but
They were talking about encryption, the next generation of encryption, and they're talking about using quantum voltages in the signal. It'd be mixed in with the signal.
Oh, okay.
And they're saying if you send a quantum voltage, you
Okay.
can only, to detect it, you destroy it,
Okay.
and that you can't replicate it.
Okay.
So it's very secure, but
Okay.
the downside is you can only go like 50 miles with the quantum voltages.
Okay. Well,
Same.
how do you sense it? Do they do it by the integral particle back at, how do they sense it?
I don't know.
You have the information, but you can't see it.
Yeah, that's right. It's there, but you can't see it.
You can
Or if you can
detect
see it, you don't know what it
Right
means.
only
That's
memory.
right.
apparently you have,
Right
Right only. That's right.
it's-
Right only. That's
it's
right.
a-
Right only.
it's a
It's there, but we
complex
can't.
You
We
can-
don't know.
voltage. It has, the rotation, the spin of the electron and all that stuff, and the velocity and the direction of spin, and
Holy
it's
cow.
very complex. And to read that, you have to destroy it, which is kind of like the old core memory.
Yeah, I remember that. I was thinking on that. Yeah. When you
The old
read,
core
you
memory,
destroy
you
the
read it.
value.
You have
need
to-
read, write.
Yeah,
Have to
you
read
better
it.
write. And if you ever unplug core memory,
Yeah.